sake, whatever's going on?
Oh, hello, Watson. You're early. Did you kill all of your patients?
What? Holmes, where have all these wretched bees come from?
I increased the temperature of the room so as to prevent them from hibernating. I needed to take a sample of honey. But it worked, Watson. We will have honey all year round.
Ridiculous and dangerous.
They're domestic bees, Apis mellifera, such industrious workers. Anyway, Watson, I am sorry, but I must leave you. I'm in rather a hurry.
You have a new case?
Yes, but nothing as thrilling as this experiment. A theft of plants at the Royal Botanic Gardens in Kew. I'm helping a minister who's an old friend of mine. You can join me if you like.
Well, I'll admit that I'd far rather accompany you than remain alone here with these workers of yours. Besides, you'll need a helping hand with the flowers you're intending to bring back.
Watson, however did you guess?
For the great Sherlock Holmes to bother with the theft of plants. Come on, admit that you're planning to spoil your little bees with some rare pollens.
Está aprendiendo de él.
Since when did I become so transparent? Let us go.
Pobre perro, ¿no? Como le pique las abejas lo flipa.
Well, Holmes, here we are at the Royal Botanic Gardens. There's no doubt that this place is beautiful. But are you really intent on investigating the theft of the plants?
Yes, of course.
Don't touch anything else, is that clear? Just go and get a bucket of fertilizer. And without turning it over this time.
Uy.
Good day to you, gentlemen. How may I help you? If you are here for a visit, please do come back on Sunday.
I am afraid that it cannot wait. My name is Sherlock Holmes, and this is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson. We are investigating the theft of plants that took place here 5 days ago. A remarkable collection, I believe.
So you're the one in charge, eh?
A small favour for a friend. Now, to whom do I have the pleasure of speaking?
I am Martin Hamish. I am the Deputy Director of Kew Gardens. And
Está
that
muy
fellow
seguro.
yonder is Albert. He works here.
I am delighted to meet you. What can you tell us about the plants?
They were rare and exceptional plants. We presented them at our last exhibition. We haven't removed the stand yet. It is still in the large glass house. We only learned of their disappearance the evening after the exhibition, and nobody saw anything.
No doors were forced?
No, but I would imagine that for a thief it would be fairly easy to gain entry, for there are no guards here.
Well, if you don't mind, we will take a look. Now, you say that it is in the large glass house.
Yes, the one just behind me. Just a second, since Albert has nothing else to do. Albert, show these gentlemen where the exhibition was held.
How many people work here?
Only myself, but occasionally 2 students, Albert, whom you have met, and Miss White.
Ok, tres personas tenemos aquí.
Here it is. This is the place where the stolen plants were exhibited.
Thank you. Is there something the matter?
Yes, there is. All right, the plants were valuable and rare, but it seems to me that the tragedy that took place here only 2 days ago has been entirely forgotten already.
What tragedy are you referring to?
The director of Kew Gardens, Mr. Montague Dunn, he died here just 2 days ago.
We're very sorry.
Ah,
You're
pues
not
ha muerto el
aware.
otro.
The two of you were good friends?
He was my father.
Oh dear. Our condolences. We should not be troubling you. Please do excuse us for the intrusion.
You say that he died here, in the large glass house.
Holmes?
Yes, just here, near the door to the colonial collection. He suffered a heart attack, just like that, so suddenly. It was terrible. Excuse me, gentlemen, but I cannot remain here. If you need me, I'll be in the reserve. That's the room next to the front of the large greenhouse.
Of course, we understand. The plants were here. All of them were stolen.
What should we do next, Holmes?
Watson es la persona más inútil que podemos tener de acompañante.
Here is a list of the stolen plants.
What should we do next, Holmes?
No, que no. Por eso me gusta más
Do
llevar
not
esta-
touch.
Pues lo toco porque quiero. Quita.
According to Albert, this is where his father, Montague Dunn, was found dead. These boot marks are fresh. It appears as though someone was dragging their feet. The traces are thinner in some places. The footprints reveal that someone staggered here. Soil. It should have come from a flower pot. The soil on the side of this flower shelf is the same as that on the ground. Fragments of a flower pot. It fell down here.
Ok, y por último lo de la puerta. Ah, no, hay más.
This pot was broken fairly recently. A flower pot recently fell down from these shelves and was misplaced. This door handle is new. It was recently changed. The door was smashed at shoulder height.
No verá que Leon nota cuando se murió, ¿no?
The esconson was breached near the handle. The door was forced from the inside of the Colonial Collection room. The hand was changed afterwards.
I think we need to inspect the Colonial Collection.
This sign is broken. Something heavy was dropped upon it. Blood. Someone fell violently against this sign, and they were injured in the clash. Most likely a head wound. All the clues around here are quite suspicious. I need my imagination to make sense of it all.
Ay, no, no, no. Sí, me he equivocado.
This reconstruction reveals a disturbing fact. Montague Dunn damaged the door of the Colonial Collection room.
He was in a panic, or the door was locked. Was it an accident, or a murder then, I wonder? I think we need to inspect the Colonial Collection.
There is a smell of burning. The symbol is not from Kew Gardens.
Son de monstruos. La de
The
Alice in
remains of a
Borderland,
picture
no.
frame. A protective mask. Someone set it alight, but it did not burn.
Es como de que viajan a como un mundo alternativo en el que tienen que jugar juegos para sobrevivir.
A broom handle was half burned.
Sí, hay otra que es de monstruos, que es la de Sweet Home o algo
A
así.
door handle? Why would anyone throw such a thing in the fire? The door handle to the Colonial Collection and that of the fireplace are made of the same material.
Falta algo por ver. Marco esto.
The plants were set alight fairly recently. Some have not completely burned.
Por esta puerta.
These plants come from all the territories of the British Empire. Very strange. Half of the Colonial Collection is absent. The smell is strong. It is a detergent.
Lasca.
A fragment of marble, most likely chipped from a statue or sculpture. This broken fragment was the result of a heavy blow. These windows were perfectly cleaned. Part of this greenhouse was emptied and thoroughly cleaned.
Perfil. Tú mucho trabajas aquí con el
Do you work
el abono
here?
y eso no.
Yes, but part-time only. For I'm also studying botany at the University of London.
You're following in your father's footsteps, then. That is commendable.
Well, even if botany is not my strongest suit,
Tugi.
there are people who say that I could be a good manager.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you
Qué
again
porquería.
soon.
Vale, y ahora hablamos con el otro. No, la otra puerta. Uy, esto no lo había
A
visto.
task list for Albert, compiled by Martin Hamish. Sweep out the palm house, scrub the toilets, clean the storage shed tools.
Lo tienen como un mandado. Vamos a hacerle el perfil. La cafita está fachera, ¿eh? Gafas para miopía baratas. Cuello sucio. Tú me caes mal. Soltero.
Albert told us about the tragic death of Mr. Dunn, the late director of Kew Gardens.
Tragic indeed. His heart attack was quite unexpected.
Would you unlock the doors for us?
Do you expect to find the stolen plants there? I am sorry, but those rooms are private.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Turbio. Y ahora tenemos que ir a consultar los archivos. Y vamos a hacer que mire por la ventana, ¿no? Mira, Foxillo, que... ¡Uy!
Someone should take Toby for a walk. Have you found something interesting?
Morpeco, mira quién es el que pone la esa.
Oh dear, Toby. I wasn't aware that you were Watson's new literary...
Una lista de plantas exóticas robadas que se pusieron en los Kew Gardens. Ah, mira. Estas plantas tienen una toxicidad similar, más o menos variable. Solo las 3 primeras son peligrosas para los humanos, en especial las flores. Han envenenado al papa de nota, en especial las flores diabólicas. Bajo unas condiciones muy concretas, cuando activa su mecanismo de defensa contra agresiones, disemina esporas letales.
Here it is.
El emblema de la maceta rota que hallamos en el patio trasero no es el de los Kew Gardens. El símbolo significa divino, que si no me equivoco... El divino gremio académico para la veneración vegetal y la meditación. Los miembros del gremio adoran a Triwan, el rey dios. Las donaciones son generosas, buscan la pureza espiritual y librarse del materialismo. Juegazo, lo estoy subiendo a YouTube.
The Divine Syndicate is not
Pues
a supplier
se
to
sube el
Kew
casos.
Gardens. Besides, there is no address here.
Vamos a ver qué dicen de las cartas del caso que ya hemos hecho el anterior. Señor Holmes, escribo para informarle de que el asunto de Abbey Grange, que tuvo lugar hace ya casi medio año, aún resuena en la alta sociedad y está sujeto a rumores continuos. El trasfondo sentimental del caso ha traído a muchos pretendientes que muestran su intención de dar cobijo y apiadarse de Lady Brackenstall, pero por el momento ya sigue cumpliendo sentencia con su doncella Teresa y ha rechazado toda oferta de ayuda. Para ser sincero, sospecho que la verdadera motivación de todos esos pretendientes bien puede ser el título y el dinero de Sir Eustace. ¿Qué conclusiones saca usted? Vale.
I asked Inspector Lestrade to take Montague Dunn's body to Scotland Yard.
It's ready for autopsy, then.
Aquí tenemos las pertenencias del hombre.
A beautiful
una pluma?
feather pen of a good make. a membership card for the London Crest Club.
Dan pasta.
This watch is of great value.
Qué fuerte. Al señor F. Wayne, director de la imprenta de Wayne & Sons. Estimado amigo, sus carteles para la gran exposición de los Kew Gardens son muy bellos, pero sin duda no será necesario que en ellos aparezca todo el personal. Con mi nombre bastará. ¡Uy! Pues aquí está el muerto.
First of all, let us carry out an external examination. There is an injury to the skull, most probably caused by the fall in the water lily greenhouse. The air from the lungs carries a faint floral aroma. The vessels and the pupil of the eye appear quite normal.
Esto va a tener algo que ver con veneno, ¿eh?
There are no suspicious marks upon the chest. Let us finish our external examination so that we can proceed with the autopsy. No redness, stings, or bruises. Nothing suspicious here. Now, let us examine the internal organs.
Ah, yo lo quería cortar.
The heart's blood vessels show no pathological signs. The heart tissue shows no visible pathological signs.
O sea que no fue un ataque al corazón.
The lungs are congested and edematous.
Uy.
The tissue on the inferior lobe of the right lung is damaged, most probably caused by toxins from
Está
an unknown
envenenado o
plant.
algo.
The liver is enlarged. It would seem that he was suffering from an alcohol addiction.
No beban, niños.
The liver tissue is brown. There are no visible pathological signs.
Vale. El estómago tiene un color un poco extraño, ¿no?
The stomach tissues show no visible pathological signs. There is a small amount of content. It appears that he breakfasted lightly, only a short while before his death. My suspicions have been substantiated. Montague Dunn, the director of Kew Gardens, died from poisoning. Plant
Lo sabía hasta yo.
poisoning, to be more exact.
You mean
Yes, it is murder.
we should inform Lestrade?
Yes, but do remember, Watson, that I discovered the murder. The challenge is mine.
The challenge, Holmes?
We need
Challenge.
to locate that deadly plant. Such a perfect murder appeals to me.
Murder of any kind appeals to you. Is that all we need to do?
No, we also have the people working at Kew Gardens. Martin Hamish and the son of the victim, Albert Dunn.
And also Miss White, of whom we spoke with Mr. Hamish. Should we bring them all here for interrogation?
No, a few innocuous questions at Kew will suffice, as well as a discreet delve into their personal affairs. Yes, Watson, it is time now to open the doors.
Even those in the staff building? I suppose that is necessary.
We should also be concerned with the victim himself. After all, we don't know very much about Montague Dunn.
You're enjoying this already, aren't you?
More than a little.
Hostias, ¿cuánto cosa hay que preguntarte?
Mr. Hamish, can you explain to us what happened to the colonial collection? It seems somewhat depleted.
But, most likely maintenance work.
Tú eres muy sospechoso
tidying
desde el
up.
principio.
You're not sure, then? But you're the deputy director.
Well, I am
¿Cuánto
busy.
pesará?
I cannot be
Pesará.
everywhere at once.
Por lo menos 40-50 gigas, por lo menos.
As deputy director, how was your relationship with Montague Dunn?
To be honest with you, Mr. Holmes, it could have been better.
No lo sé,
You see,
ahora lo
every
miro.
Tuesday he would carry out his
Recuérdamelo.
inspection of the gardens. but it was solely to make an impression, great pretense that he cared at all. He would give out absurd orders, ignoring anyone else's opinion. He would then disappear for the rest of the week. He was what some might call a man of action. I'd say rather he was overzealous and chaotic. So after all, it was no wonder, perhaps, that he ended up like that, if you take into consideration his kind of lifestyle.
No. Tengo ahí la lista de los juegos que quiero jugar este año.
You
Quiero jugar
mentioned
también
that
al de
Mr.
miedo
Dunn
de
led
la
a
morgue ese.
particular
Que se llama, ya
lifestyle.
sé, The Mortuary
Well, it's
Assistant.
no secret that he enjoyed
Así que se lo quiero jugar.
celebrating, shall we say? He was a member of the London Smart Set. He was famous for it. That
And
he had an eye for the ladies, to put it mildly, Mr. Holmes.
Mr. Hamish, can you tell us who holds the keys to the locked greenhouses?
That would be Albert, Mr. Dunn's son. Yes, Albert keeps all the keys, and one can only imagine why.
What do you mean?
Well, he was never interested in Kew Gardens before, and now all of a sudden he is trying to act as if he
¿Qué?
owns the place. I think he wants to take over the management here. He'd do better to leave that to me. He has no experience. No, none at all.
What is your opinion of Albert as a student of botany?
He's useless. I often tell him so, and I can only give him cleaning tasks. Botany is not his life's work, and his father well knew it. He was furious about it.
He was.
Oh yes, he forced his son to work here, and he never missed an opportunity to criticize him publicly.
Are you able to elaborate on that?
Well, for example, with our last exhibition here, Mr. Dunn had Albert make a presentation speech. But then, while the lad was speaking, Mr. Dunn interrupted him, asking him difficult questions, making him look like a failure. It was with the intention of making a fool of him, Mr. Holmes.
That must have been terribly humiliating.
No me entero de nada. Estaba
Yes,
leyendo
he
un
was
WhatsApp.
crushed, and he had to leave. Everybody was making fun of poor Albert. That is, except for Miss Margaret White, who was such a nice lady. And
El
who always
padre
takes pity on Albert.
se reía de él.
You mentioned a Miss White. Would you tell us more about her?
She is a student who works here part-time. She is quite charming indeed. She possesses a great talent for botany. You should take a look at some of her experiments that she carried out in the laboratory. Ah, if only she
El
weren't
hijo
so
yo no creo que
naive.
sea culpable porque ¿por qué le mencionaría a Sherlock Holmes? Es que mi padre ha muerto aquí hace un par de días y nadie se acuerda de
And
él. ¿no?
he, why, he couldn't
Si
help
tú la has
but be
matado no
flattered
quieres
by
que
all her
revolve la
attention.
mierda.
How could an intelligent woman such as Miss White not see through his game? I can only scratch my head and wonder.
Tell me, Mr. Hamish, do you grow the more deadly variety of plant here?
You mean insectivorous? Yes, but nothing larger than that.
Are you aware of the Divine Syndicate?
The divine what? Is this a joke?
No, I am quite serious.
What a ridiculous name. Anyway, I have never heard of this syndicate.
Sí, ha oído.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Vale, tendremos que venir a pedir a este las llaves.
Who is Miss Margaret White?
Ah, she is the young lady who studies with me. She visits here sometimes to help out with the greenhouses. In fact, she should be here today. She wanted to work at the seed house. That's the small greenhouse across from the large glass house.
Estaba cerrado.
We noticed that a part of the colonial collection has been cleared.
Ah, at the moment I'm just dealing with the storage room. I don't know much about the other rooms.
I imagine that your relationship with your father may have been a strained one.
Yes. I cannot say that he was a kind man, for he never listened to me at all. He forced me to work here. But now, after his death, I've been pondering it over. Perhaps he wasn't so wrong about me after all. I have to follow his path, and I have to manage Kew Gardens. And I can do it. I can be as good as any other who works here.
Me da penilla.
Would you please tell us about Martin Hamish, the deputy director?
Well, I have to tell you that Mr. Hamish is not and has never been the deputy director of Kew Gardens. My father would not have tolerated it.
Indeed? Well, that is most interesting. He told us that he was.
Yes, because he believes that the management should be passed down to him now that my father is dead. But in actual fact, Mr. Hamish only has the honour of being the garden's longest-serving employee.
Qué
In fact,
fuerte.
if we are to think logically at all, it should be me who takes over the management of Kew Gardens.
Do you
Aquí
not
hay una
have a good
disputa de poder.
relationship with Mr. Hamish?
I suppose so. But we have very little in common.
Provechito,
Mr.
Fox.
Hamish loves his plants and Kew Gardens, and I cannot say that I share his passion.
I see. And how was his relationship with your father?
Oh, he hated my father. It was obvious. He would be furious whenever my father boasted of Kew Gardens in the newspapers or at conferences. He was convinced that my father was stealing all of the credit for himself. But my father treated Mr. Hamish in the same way as he treated anyone. Dismissively. With indifference.
Tell me, have you ever heard of the Divine Syndicate?
No, I cannot say that I have.
Do you hold the keys to all of these locked doors?
Yes, you can have them. But I cannot give you the keys to the cloakroom. The employee's effects are private. I am sure you understand.
Bueno, vale. Pero ahí también
Thank
quiero
you,
entrar.
young man. We shall see you again soon.
Soy yo... ¡Uy! No pensaba que tuviera la llave de esto. La caja fuerte, vamos de una. ¿Esto qué es? Un, dos, tres. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Ah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, porque en el otro le hay 5, soy mongola. Estoy, sí, ya esto está trabajando a tope, a todo lo que da. Mi estimado amigo Orfaro, permítame expresar mi decepción tras haber leído su última carta. Estoy pagándole para que me defienda, no para que me acuse. Los Kew Gardens son una institución real. Se nos ha concedido la gran oportunidad de viajar por el mundo y salvar las especies vegetales más extraordinariamente valiosas y raras. Es nuestro deber protegerlas de aquellos que quieran emplearlas con dudosos propósitos. Este divino gremio del que me habla no tiene ningún derecho de retener tan preciadas plantas. Recuerda el caso del 14 de junio del 89. Lo tendremos que mirar. Debo solicitarle de nuevo que certifique los permisos a favor de los Kew Gardens. Los documentos se le enviaron el lunes. Le veo en Boodles el martes como siempre. El notas que ha muerto. Señor Dunn, le solicitamos por última vez que libere a nuestras hermanas. No tiene ningún derecho a mantenerlas prisioneras, no le pertenecen. What? Lo que usted llama permisos son del todo falsos. Se escuda usted en mentiras como la que fue publicada en la prensa como el caso del 14 de junio del 89. Huelga mencionarla. Lo que ha hecho es abominable. Tenga por seguro que no abandonaremos nunca a miembro alguno de nuestra familia. Confiamos en usted y nos arrepentimos de haberlo hecho. El divino gremio.
I suggest that we don't tell Miss Margaret White about this document.
Reconocimiento de deuda de la señorita Margaret White a favor del señor Montage Dune. Arrendamiento de una de las habitaciones de Oxford Street. Beca para la Universidad de Londres. Líneas de crédito abiertas en Hamilton. Uy. Vale, tenemos que mirar esto. Aquí hay cositas.
A photograph of Montague Dunn and Reynold Hamish. Newspapers discussing Kew Gardens.
Nuevas especies de plantas. El personal de los Kew Gardens se complace en anunciar una nueva variedad de cebada que resiste por completo al frío. Le han dado el nombre de cebada siberiana. El señor Martin Hamish, orgulloso creador de la variedad, dará una conferencia de prensa sobre el tema el próximo martes. ¿Cuánto hay que leer aquí, no? Mi queridísima Margaret, teniendo en cuenta nuestra última conversación, creo que sería mejor que dejaras tu puesto en los Kew Gardens. Como afirmaste de modo tan brusco, ya no necesitas mi apoyo. Parafraseándote, eres más que capaz de moverte sola por este mundo. Te devuelvo, en fin, tu libertad y no te deseo más que la mejor de las suertes. El tío este es un chulo. Uy, señores.
Champagne. Montague Dunn had good taste. French wine. A remarkable vintage. Locked.
Que ya no está lock. No, que escucha, Orpego, tengo cero ganas.
There was a bottle here. It left behind a trace of the substance that pervaded the laboratory.
Gold dust? Good heavens. What's it doing here?
The gold is almost immune to chemical attacks, so it may be a valuable auxiliary for various experiments.
But why would anyone perform such experiments in a botanical garden?
Several drops of the substance were spilled. Someone carried this bottle around. Several drops of the substance were spilled. Someone carried this bottle around. The bottle is no longer here, but it is possible to detect a faint scent. We need a good nose.
Remarkable.
Qué miedo.
Yes, this is quite a modern laboratory.
Muy avanzado y muy moderna para la época. Lo más moderno de tecnología que hay ahora, ¿vale?
Martin Hamish's perception of plants. The notion of communication in the plant world has long been considered marginal, yet I remain convinced that some plants do indeed transmit chemical signals in the event of attack.
A study report by Martin Hamish.
Vale, a ver el otro.
And it seems clear from these multiple experiments that plants do respond to their environment and have a form of consciousness. Margaret White, February 1895. Report number 245.
Study report.
Qué chulo tener uno de estos, ¿no? Se requiere un objeto. Pues supongo que tenemos que encontrar más pruebas de
This
esas
is
de
a
audio.
table for experiments. It resembles my own.
Only this one is kept in good order, Holmes.
Falta un
It
equipo.
appears as though the protective equipment is missing from here. Gloves, waterproof aprons, everything one might need for self-protection.
Do they grow dangerous plants here?
Such
Ah, la
masks are
máscara.
generally worn when dealing with toxic chemicals. A botany book. This student's book belongs to Albert.
Ha repetido.
Chemicals, a sufficient quantity for some serious experiments.
Vale, aquí hace falta un objeto. Pues yo creo que esto está mirado.
Locked.
Holmes, Albert Dunn didn't give us the key to this door.
It does not matter. We will open it.
Ok, la abriremos. Bueno, más complicada. Eso, ya está. Complicado, ¿eh?
Open.
Que si mueves de un lado se te mueve otro.
Miss White's locker. A draft of the letter that Miss White sent to her parents.
Queridos padre y madre, escribo esta carta con reticencia para pedirles ayuda. Los costes de mi estudio y mi alojamiento son mayores de lo que había previsto, por tanto temo que no pueda hacerles frente a largo plazo. Sé que hemos tenido desacuerdos en el pasado, pero espero que no sean ustedes tan insensibles como para permitir que su hija fracase académicamente por cuestiones económicas. Esta tía me parece a mí
Apparently,
que...
Miss White is a capable student.
no sé, un poco malcriada me parece a mí. Hombre,
These jewels must be worth a small fortune.
para mí que es una descarada, sí.
A vanity purse. It is of high quality.
Margaret, nos sorprende que hayas escrito. ¿Cómo es posible que hayas pensado en pedirnos dinero después de todos los años que han pasado desde que te marchaste, en los que no hemos sabido nada de ti? Bueno, en los que no hemos sabido de ti. Nunca has compartido con nosotros ni un detalle sobre tus progresos en la universidad y lo haces ahora. Solo podemos suponer que te avergüenzas de nosotros porque no pertenecemos... hostia... a la clase de tus nuevas amistades. Sí, somos gente modesta, pero deberías aprender que la familia es lo primero, como siempre ha sido en casa. Y ninguno de nosotros ha puesto nunca en peligro su reputación, como parece que has hecho tú con tu patrono, el señor Dune. No, Margaret, eres tú la que nos avergüenzas, tus padres. Vaya, parece ser que se te ha liado, Margaret. Diploma. Esta carta es la que falta. Querida Margaret, sé que los problemas económicos se te han hecho muy pesados. Por favor, déjame asegurarte que no puedo permitir que te encuentres en esta situación. Nací en una familia pudiente y lo consideraría un honor si aceptas mi ayuda. Uy, aquí están todos con la tía que no cagan, ¿no?
Martin Hamish's locker. Martin Hamish studied chemistry. Interesting.
Señor secretario general, va a ser todo por culpa de la tía. La tía lo ha liado para que lo maten, yo lo que sé. Los recientes acontecimientos que han tenido lugar... Otra vez le doy sin querer. Los 𝐒𝐈𝐒 me ponen en la situación de volver a solicitar el puesto de director, tal y como afirmaba en mis anteriores misivas. Creo que no hay nadie más apropiado para el puesto. Mientras el señor Montaigne vivía, comprendí que fuera reacio a mis sugerencias. Tenía usted motivos políticos y yo me plegué a ellos solícito. Ahora los 𝐒𝐈𝐒 se hallan en una situación de desgobierno. ¿Cómo voy a permitirlo? ¿Cómo voy a dejarlos en manos de gente sin experiencia ni motivación? Debo urgirle a que tome la decisión que premura para que pueda dedicarme plenamente a la noble tarea que me espera, libre ya de esta incertidumbre.
A review on rare and exotic plants. Martin Hamish has written several pieces. Father and I, Kew Gardens.
Y el de Albert,
Albert's locker.
que es el hijo del que ha muerto.
Young Albert, standing with a woman in front of London University. Young Albert. Specialist articles on shipyards and ship construction. Albert Dunn has a great passion for shipbuilding and the sea.
Le gusta la ingeniería, no la botánica.
A rejection letter from the British Royal Naval College.
Señor, lamento tener que informarle que a pesar de sus excelentes resultados en nuestras pruebas de ingreso, no podemos darle la bienvenida a la Escuela de la Marina Real. Su padre, el señor Montaigne, ha expresado su intención de nombrarle director de los Reales Jardines Botánicos de Kew y parece claro que no tendría intención de liberarle de sus obligaciones durante el año completo que requiere el entrenamiento naval. Por favor, acepte nuestros mejores deseos para su futuro en los Kew Gardens. Un cordial saludo. Uy, un móvil para matar al Papa. Vale. Aquí parece que todo... el señor que ha muerto tampoco era muy bueno, ¿eh? Me estoy perdiendo en White. Los estudios y la posición social de Margaret White dependían por completo de la fortuna del notas este. ¿Qué más? Bueno, ya no hay ninguno más. Está confuso, este caso es más reliado, sí. Podría haber sido cualquiera de los tres, en verdad.
Locked. These young plants must be delicate if they are kept in the nursery.
Carteles.
This poster is for an exhibition that Martin Hamish was directing, but it had nothing to do with Kew Gardens. This certificate belongs to Martin Hamish. He won a horticultural competition.
Me cae mal el Hamish ese, ¿eh? Me parece un déspota un poco egocéntrico.
A thesis written by Martin Hamish.
Se cree que sabe mucho. Saberá mucho, sí, pero es un enterado. Esto ya lo he visto.
A glasses case. It is empty. This area serves as Martin Hamish's office.
Ah, bueno, si es su oficina, vale.
An award presented to Martin Hamish for Best Grower of the Year. A master's degree diploma. It belongs to Martin Hamish.
Ok. Entonces notas este. Es el del señor Dune este.
It is a bust of Montague Dunn. I am curious if the marble that we found will fit this place. Here it is. The marble fragment that we found in the Colonial Collection Room is what they have in common.
Lo podía hacer cualquiera de los tres. El hijo es el del que menos
The
sospecho.
seeds of plant species are stored here.
Y aquí tiene que estar la tía esta. Vamos a investigar esto y ahora hablamos con ella.
Good day to you, miss. You have some very beautiful plants here.
Why, thank you, sir. And good day to you too. But...
Oh, I do beg your pardon. My name is Dr. John
Estaba liada con el
Watson.
padre de, ¿eh?
This is my good friend, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Yo también estoy medio
I am
perdida.
honored to make your acquaintance, gentlemen.
A esta le
My
pagaba
name is
todo
Margaret
el que ha
White.
muerto.
Excuse me, but are you Sherlock Holmes, the great detective?
Yes, I am he.
What a pleasure to see you here at Kew Gardens. Are you working on a case?
Uy, la mira que tiene de mala. ¿Y qué falta? ¿Falta algo?
Yes, a theft of plants that took place here a few days ago after their most recent exhibition.
Oh yes, of course. I quite forgot about that.
Oh, it's quite understandable that you might forget about the theft of the plants, miss, after the tragedy that took place here.
Yes. The director was a truly
No va a ser buen hombre y
good
te
man.
pagaba todo.
It is such a terrible misfortune.
Would you happen to know why part of the colonial collection was cleared?
No, I have never been there.
Do you work here?
Part-time only. I am a biology student at the London University. I attend the same classes as the son of Mr. Montague Dunn. That is how I found my chance to work here for part of my thesis, you see. It is a great honor.
Estaba
How
liado.
well did you know
Estaba
Mr.
liado.
Montague Dunn?
He was a master, a great
Claro.
leader.
El
I
máster.
saw him almost as a spiritual father.
He had an exceptional nature?
Oh yes, indeed. He was always so active and so optimistic and very nice to
Me da
me.
hasta alergia.
Although he could behave harshly towards his son.
Why so?
He loved his son dearly and wanted the very best for him. It made him extremely demanding. Albert, who is naturally shy, suffered because of it.
The Divine Syndicate. Does that name mean anything to you, by any chance?
Not at all. But it is a very pretty name.
Most of the doors in Kew Gardens are locked. Do you have a key to this room?
Oh, yes. Albert gave me a set of duplicate keys. He agreed I might carry out my studies
Albert quiere
without
contigo.
disturbing him. It is only temporary.
Thank you, miss. None of the 3 people who work at Kew Gardens know why half of the colonial collection was cleared. So, someone is lying. It is obvious. Mr. Hamish, was someone from your family connected with Kew Gardens?
Family? No. I'm the only one with a passion for botany.
¿Fotografía con el padre?
I do not think so. This photograph of you and your father at Kew Gardens suggests the opposite.
But you have no right to.
Do tell us more about your father.
He was, indeed, the greatest botanist of his time in the British Empire. He worked together with Montague Dunn until the end of his life. He brought me in at the age of 12.
Did he get on well with Mr. Dunn?
No, I couldn't say that. They expanded Kew Gardens together, that was all. And it was all my father's work, for Dunn always lived the high life.
So Mr. Dunn was not
Este es el
helping
que
your
la mata,
father?
Morpeco.
Oh, yes, he provided the financial support. And as far as he was concerned,
Te
that
gusta
fulfilled
meter el
his
dedo
role.
en la herida, ¿eh?
But the worst of it was, he declared himself as the master of Kew Gardens. Fame meant nothing to my father. So it was easy for Mr. Dunn to take all the credit.
There is a bust of Montague Dunn in the nursery.
A bust? Oh, that old thing. Further proof of that outrageous ego of his.
But why in that room in particular?
Oh, I don't know. It has always been there.
Lasca.
It is strange, because I recovered a fragment of the bust inside the Colonial Collection Room.
Really? Oh, well, so I am mistaken. It ought to have been removed during the cleanup. This room is so small.
Do you know who moved it?
I have no idea. Surely Mr. Dunn requested it. Do you have any more questions like this? Because fragments of rock are not my responsibility.
Evidently. Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation. I perceive that you are passionate about the Royal Navy.
Passionate? No, not really. I like ships, that is all.
Are you quite sure? You do not seem to be so interested in plants.
It's difficult, that's all. My future is here. It has never been about anything else.
Emblema de la maceta rota, llave de los Q. Esperanzas de Albert, ¿no?
And yet I know that the Royal Naval College
Este también, es
rejected
que en
your
verdad
application.
este también ha
you truly are as
podido
clever as they say.
hacer algo.
Yes, that's correct. And in fact, my father was strongly
Pero
against
este
the
no creo que
idea.
tuviera tantos
He
conocimientos
did his
botánicos, no le
best to ruin my
gusta.
plans. Although I
Y hay un
almost did
libro del que él ha
succeed.
repetido.
But my dreams were shattered, Mr. Holmes.
Escándalo en el Divino Gremio, el club llamado el Divino Gremio, donde se reúnen los adoradores del rey dios Trewan, protector de las plantas y de los árboles en particular, situado en el número 48 de Grosvenor Street, en la carretera de Carleton. Se halla actualmente bajo investigación fiscal. Los líderes de esta organización son presuntos evasores y puede que la investigación acabe en cargos judiciales, mientras son muchas las voces que se alzan en contra de estas medidas, denunciando al Estado. De hecho, esta organización privada, con el objeto de defender la naturaleza de la que son miembros influyentes figuras del país, incluyendo políticos destacados de la oposición, y ya
Here it
no
is.
lee más.
And here is the Divine Syndicate's address. Perfect. It is time to find out what they have against Montague Dunn.
Vale, pero antes me voy a llevar al perro. Este tío, tú eres el de la gordita, no yo.
Come on, Toby. We have some work for you to do. Let us go to Kew Gardens. Let us take Toby to the laboratory. He will pick up the scent of this mysterious substance.
Claro, cuidado que en verdad no he investigado
Search,
todo.
Toby. Search.
Ah, no, sí, esta parte sí. Es un Toby, es chiquito. El juego está muy bien, creo que es el 6º. Creo que hay más juegos, o sea, creo que hay 5 antes, pero el que me salía más famoso buscando Sherlock Holmes era este. No sé si es porque es el último, que lo dudo porque este es de 2012, creo.
Congratulations, Toby. Now let us see what you have found. This
La
is the
botella del
bottle that
veneno.
was used in the laboratory. There is still some liquid remaining in the bottle, with gold flakes, a tiny caterpillar. Not surprising to see one in a garden, but at the bottom of a bottle. Let us determine just what we have found here. Let us pour liquid from the bottle into a test tube to perform an analysis. This is the
Pensaba que no era líquido como para, pero sí es líquido.
a colorless, water-based liquid. Quite a strong floral aroma.
Holmes? What are you doing?
It has a bitter taste.
What if it's poisonous?
Did you ever see poison stored in enormous jars like that? Anyway, there is a doctor nearby.
So what do you think it is?
It is some kind of organic compound. Let us vaporize the liquid and see what happens.
¿Se cristaliza?
Small colorless crystals. Colorless, tiny crystals that are soluble in water, with a floral smell and a bitter taste. Watson, could you pass me that small bottle, please?
Of course. Here you are. Holmes, do you know what it is?
Wagner's reagent. There was a label on the bottle that you passed to me.
No, Holmes, I meant the bottle that we found.
Let me add the reagent and see if there is any sediment, and then I shall tell
Me pone
you.
muy nerviosa la llama que no la apaga, ¿eh?
I need to take a pipette. I need to take a pipette and make several drops of the...
Vale, pero... Ah, vale, que la botella también está llena.
Red sediment, just as I suspected. This liquid is of organic origin. It contains some alkaloid. Most likely it is unstable, and that is why there is a quantity of gold dust to prevent
Él es el que
contamination.
entiende, ni tú ni yo, ¿eh?
This mixture is probably a fertilizer. Someone was carrying out unusual experiments in the garden's laboratory.
This place is beautiful, Holmes. Its atmosphere is remarkably soothing.
Let us find someone who could help us.
Ok. Espérate, me pica el ojo. Por aquí podemos ir, pero...
Locked.
Es aquí donde me hace lo del revés. Ah,
A fragment of a flower pot. Fragments of a flower pot. It fell down here. The Kew Gardens symbol.
y me lo guardo. Es un guerrero.
Good day to you, sir. My name is Sherlock...
I am exalting the sun. A while can you wait? From the trace of elements and moreover from the quality of the ambient geotropism it depends. Therefore, please, mind my gravitropism. Its balance, do not disturb.
Disturbed is most definitely the word.
Completed is the symbiosis. Welcomed you are. To introduce myself I shall. I am the Green Grand Mystic.
The Green Grand Mystic himself.
This is me. Who am I speaking to?
We are two gentlemen who are extremely interested in the vegetation philosophy that is advocated by this establishment.
Listening to you, I am.
Bueno, monje tibetano, espérate. Tatuaje.
We should like to take a look around, to immerse ourselves in the wisdom that emanates from here.
It is a school of anastomosis, the divine scholastic syndicate for vegetation veneration and meditation. You may say, the divine syndicate, glory to the eukaryotic. Only true devotees, those whose hearts are ready to spermatophize in sharing of knowledge, are permitted to physically enter our vegetable kingdom and its wisdom. And to be permitted, you must earn it, yes.
Do you have friends at Kew Gardens?
None. Not worthy there.
Emblema de los Kew Gardens.
Nevertheless,
maceta.
we have seen Kew Gardens flower pots in your yard. How could they happen to be there?
What? Our sacred place you permitted yourself to search? Sacrilege.
No, really now. There was a theft of plants at Kew Gardens a matter of days ago, and we believe the pots we found here may be connected with it. Please tell us, were you involved?
No. Those plants were
Hola,
ours.
Agustín.
They had stolen them from us.
How so?
Their director, Dump, I believe.
Done.
Yes, that's what I said. He borrowed from us 3 of our sisters for the exhibition at his green flying
Ah, se
festive
refería a
gardens.
hermanas de plantas,
He never gave
morpecos.
them back to us.
No, hermanas de personas.
Excuses and imbecility. So we went in and saved them.
I see. So, if you stole those rare plants from them, then it means... Ah, I get it. Bravo, Holmes. I think the case is solved.
No, we did not steal. We saved. Well, as a matter of fact, we were unable to find our 3 plants.
I beg your pardon. And yet you took all of the exotic plants from the stand.
They had disappeared.
Me suenas.
It was the least we could do. They stole our sisters, and so we stole theirs.
Ok, lo
Green
quito.
Grand Mystic, we are ready to become devotees and gain access
Hace
to
lo
your
que sea
temple.
este hombre, ¿eh?
What is the name of our Lord, our God King?
Trewan.
Our
Trewan.
God King's name is Trewan, Green Grand Mystic.
Hola. Good, good.
Esa es la mierda, tengo que decir.
Here is the holy key to the wisdom.
Ya nos están
place.
pidiendo dinero.
Holy donation, can you make one of
Sí,
these?
yo sé que eres de Argentina.
Thank you so much.
I pray you to taste our fertilizer substance. From the burdens of life it helps to free.
But of course.
Raw sap, it is called. It is near the entrance.
Estás todo loco.
Well, we will leave you to your meditation.
Voy a entrar. ¡Ay! Hombre, otro loco.
The list of plant friends and benefactors, lawyers, well-known manufacturers, political leaders.
Porque se ha escuchado un perrito llorando. Toby no está conmigo, ¿eh?
That should be the raw sap that the Green Grand Mystic spoke of. It is rather delicious, and of an excellent quality.
My word, Holmes.
Cocaína.
Their sap is like a form of cocaine.
Te juro.
This must be Trewan, the Divine Syndicate's god.
Osmosis and photosynthesis.
Lo que tú digas.
These 3 plants are identical to the ones shown at the exhibition. I shall take them.
Estas son las 3.
A trop.
Vale, esto nada, porque... Oye, pero esta es como la que estaba quemando.
A tropical.
Voy a abrir la cerradura.
These instruments are used for smoking opium. A vast amount of opium.
No, tanto fumado.
This substance is an alkaloid, the same as in the bottle we found in the bushes at Kew Gardens. This cabinet is full of chemicals. They are the same as the ones we found in the laboratory at Kew Gardens.
A ver si van a ser esto al final los que les ha matado, Morpeko.
That would be enough to perform the most difficult of chemical experiments. Caterpillars. They are
¿Será
raised
posible?
as food. Perfect what? I imagine that one of these plants would be capable of releasing a toxic vapor. I need to find out exactly how it could be done. I shall begin now. Watson, if you are at all optimistic to have dinner this evening, then I'd recommend that you put on the gas mask. It closed
Y
again.
si hago...
I believe I saw
A lo mejor puedo
cloud of
darle...
gas.
Sí,
I wonder
espérate. Espérate. Tengo otra idea. Le he hecho esto, ¿no? ¡Ay, no tengo agua, Otto! La acabo de ver, no tengo agua.
It appears to open after being soaked with alkaloid.
Vale. Ahora pillo esto. Blinky.
Toxic gas with spores. Extraordinary. The plants would be capable of killing only if they were directly next to the victim and stimulated at precisely the right moment.
Let us take our caterpillars to the Colonial Collection Room. We may see things more clearly there.
It is too early, Watson. Our suspects will be there. Let us investigate Kew Gardens one more time and ask some questions. Can you tell me if you saw Mr. Montague Dunn on the day of his death?
Yes, of course. I met him, and we went to see Albert, his son, at around 9:30. He appeared quite calm.
What were you doing on the morning of the accident?
After paying multiple visits to Albert, I had a little talk with Miss White. Then I returned to my desk to complete some paperwork. Suddenly I observed that Mr. Dunn was not feeling well, so I ran immediately to fetch Albert. I clearly remember that it was around 10:30, for I was late that morning.
Your father's death does seem highly suspicious. What were your movements here on that day?
Suspicious. Well, I was working in the seed house, taking
Dale,
care
Morpeko.
of Lysa,
Provechito.
something, or Lear, Pontus, or... No, wait. Ah, these Latin names. And I spent so many hours trying to memorize them.
Did you see your father that day?
Yes, he came here with Mr. Hamish for his weekly visit. There was nothing unusual about that.
And then?
Nothing. They stepped out to the backyard. It was perhaps 20 minutes before 10 o'clock. Then about 10 minutes later, I saw my father heading for the dry tropics room while Mr. Hamish returned here.
And Mr. Hamish and Miss White, what were they both doing that morning?
Mr. Hamish visited me a couple of times.
Dale.
I also
Yo
saw him
todavía me quedo
returning
un
from
rato.
talking with Miss White.
Gracias
And
por
that was at 10
pasarte.
minutes past 10. But then he ran back here to me to tell me that my father was feeling unwell. We hurried across to the water lily room and I found my father lying dead on the floor. Oh my God.
Tranquilo, ahora vas a poder estudiar lo que tú
Thank you,
querías.
young man. We shall see
Ni
you
este
again
ni el otro,
soon.
parece que sean sospechosos.
Can you tell me what Mr. Dunn was doing upon the day of his death?
I can, but there is nothing very special to say. I was in the laboratory when I saw Mr. Dunn heading towards me. Tuesday is the day of his weekly visit. It was supposed to be at 9, but he was 10 minutes late, as usual.
And then?
Well, he came in to say good morning. Then I saw him spend 2 or 3 minutes by the plants outside the laboratory. After that, he ran out in the direction of the nursery, where Mr. Hamish was working. He was always in a rush during the inspection, you see. I would pity anyone who stood in his way.
And that was the last time you saw him?
Yes. I stayed in the laboratory until 20 minutes to 11, when I heard the cries of Albert and Mr. Hamish from the large glass house. I joined them as soon as I could, for I knew that something must be very wrong.
What exactly were you doing in the laboratory?
I was recording an experiment for my thesis. I only stopped my work once when Mr. Hamish visited me briefly around 10 o'clock.
You say you were recording an experiment when the tragedy occurred. Might I listen to the roll?
Certainly. Please do. You will find it in the laboratory. It is number 320.
Creo que ya lo hemos escuchado.
Thank you, miss.
Más rapidito, ¿no?
When Montague Dunn was standing close by the plants, the caterpillars were released and caused the deadly spores to activate. Panicking, and likely already half asphyxiated, Montague Dunn started back and knocked over the bust. He rushed to the door, but it was locked. He had to force it open with his shoulder. We already know the outcome. Montague Dunn collapsed and died not far from the pool. Well, it is time to perform our experiment on the ventilation system.
Vale.
The caterpillars could only fall from the ventilation duct. Our caterpillars are in place. I'll activate the ventilation system so that they fall down. Watson, stay here and observe.
All right, Holmes.
From here, we are unable to see the interior of the Colonial Collection Room. This is one of the outlets of the ventilation system. The engine has started. The ventilation system is working. Excellent. This ventilation fan is working. Let us see if I can activate the other one.
Vale, vale, vale. Es lo que me he perdido antes. Y el siguiente está para acá. En este cuarto.
Before I activate the fan, I need to check if the... We can see the interior of the Colonial Collection Room from this window. Perfect. Now I just need to find Watson to check the result.
It works perfectly, Holmes. Bravo. Now, if you could just help me to get rid of these caterpillars.
Perfect. Now we know how the murder of Montague Dunn was carried out, by activating both Albert's and Mr. Hamish's fans.
But only from Mr. Hamish's workplace would it be possible to see when Montague Dunn entered.
Pues están
the
los dos
Colonial
compinchados
Collection.
en la tía, que vino del suyo a este. Sí, pero yo no creo que fuera...
Inspector, I believe that Martin Hamish is guilty of the murder of Montague Dunn.
Aha! I knew it. I'll send the lads around to arrest him.
Very good. I shall wait to hear from you.
Pero yo no quería... que sea el culpable.
Inspector, I came here as quickly as I could.
Martin Hamish is in the large glass house. There's no need to hurry.
Voy a dar la vuelta por aquí.
Holmes, my God!
Yes, we found him like that.
Our messing around with the ventilation system didn't go unnoticed. Mr. Hamish realized that we knew.
Inspector, could you arrange the body, please? I should like to examine it.
Este también está muerto. Ah, que está aquí. Pensaba que ya se lo habían llevado a la morgue. La vida se ha convertido en un infierno. La encuentro insoportable. Dune merecía morir, pero no puedo perdonarme por tener las manos manchadas de sangre. Parece que los Amish siempre han sido víctimas de las circunstancias y yo no soy la excepción. Debo expiar mi culpa y lo haré aquí y ahora. Adiós.
The mark around the neck is very visible. He died instantly.
Holmes, his left shoe is unique. This anomaly is often a characteristic of...
A club foot. Bravo, Watson. That is the key element of this case.
Martin Hamish no podía correr debido a la torsión de la tibia producida por su pie varo. Por tanto, hemos de averiguar si tuvo tiempo suficiente para cerrar la puerta de la sala de la colección colonial y activar el sistema. Tuvo un cómplice.
Something about this rings very oddly.
Why do you say that, Mr. Holmes?
Why? Because of Mr. Hamish's club foot. Oh, I deserve to be kicked from here to Charing Cross. I should have noticed it.
But, Mr. Holmes, I can't see why.
No, I don't suppose you do. You must recall that Mr. Dunn was locked inside the Colonial Collection Room by the murderer. If it was Mr. Hamish, he would have had to run up to his workplace to trigger the fan situated above it, taking into consideration the condition of his foot.
Well, it is still possible.
Perhaps, but it is rather strange that such a person as Mr. Hamish decided to base his plan on the speed of his gait.
You mean to say that somebody helped him?
So the suicide is questionable?
Correct. Mr. Hamish accuses only himself in his letter, and so the investigation stops.
Possibly an accomplice, then? That idea had not
No, él
occurred
no era
to
el
me, Mr.
culpable, lo han
Holmes.
matado.
I have another idea, Inspector. Thanks to the testimony that we have collected, we are able to rebuild the events as they took place that day.
With a timeline, such as we did in the Jack the Ripper case.
Precisely.
The map at the entrance of Kew Gardens should help us with our timeline.
Let us summarize. Montague Dunn was poisoned inside the Colonial Collection Room. He forced open the door, which means that someone locked him inside there at 10:20. Martin Hamish was last seen at 10:10. This means that he has approximately 10 minutes to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room. Given that he was club-footed, it is doubtful. Albert also has 10 minutes to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room, which is quite enough time. Miss White was last seen at 10 o'clock, which means that she had approximately 20 minutes to lock the door. More than enough time. Perfect, Watson. Now, let us ascertain who assisted Martin Hamish in killing Montague Dunn.
White es cómplice. Margaret White fue cómplice de Martin Hamish en el asesinato de Morgan Dune. Su ambición profesional y su situación personal se habían deteriorado por su ruptura con Dune. La señorita White es una mujer peligrosa muy capaz de llevar a cabo un asesinato elaborado para su beneficio económico. Filtró con el hijo de Dune, Albert, y más tarde empujó a Martin Hamish al suicidio, sí. Cuando Dune la abandonó, su vida quedó interrumpida. Lo mató como respuesta a su desesperación. Martin intentó salvarla. Se merece una segunda oportunidad. Nada, para mí es una perra mala. Hasta con la familia tuvo problemas.
But Holmes, how can you be certain that we'll find Miss White here?
It is obvious, Watson. Just use your brain.
I am using it. I do use it.
Now that the rope has tightened around Martin Hamish, Miss White must act to erase all traces of her implication. After the suicide of her accomplice, there is one final trace remaining: the deadly plants of the Divine Syndicate. She will be there.
Very good. Shall we go?
Just one moment. Now listen to me, Watson. I shall see her alone. You will conceal yourself behind her, quietly.
Whatever are you planning?
Nothing spectacular. The impulses of women have always been a mystery to me, but she is a bold one, and so we must be cautious.
All right. You can count on me, Holmes.
Mr. Holmes, good day to you.
You do not seem surprised, Miss White.
Well, I was expecting you.
Not for too long, I believe. So please tell me, as it is still unclear, who planned the murder? Was it you?
You were wrong, Mr. Holmes.
It was Martin Hamish, then. You managed to convince him to take on a more prominent role.
You could not be further from the truth.
You think that you can fool me?
You don't care what I think.
It is difficult to care about someone who is capable of pushing a man to his suicide. It is over, Miss White. The police will be here any minute.
Over.
Se alargó un poquito, sí.
One moment you were here, and the next, you were on the other side.
The other side? No! Stop! I beg you not to do this, Miss White.
Don't come any closer.
No entiendo nada.
Please remain calm. We can help you.
Not one step further. Don't try to stop me.
Stop this foolishness. You cannot truly want to die.
Creo que hay que hacerlo lo más cercano
It's
a...
too late.
Well done, Watson. She was not faking.
Miss White, you have no right to take your own life.
A ver, te quita la vida antes de nada.
Did you just save me? Or worse?
Worst. La señorita White es una mujer peligrosa, muy capaz de llevar a cabo un asesinato elaborado. Cuando se dio cuenta de que no podía sacarle más dinero a Montague Dune, volvió su afecto hacia Albert, su hijo. Ella fue la que cerró la puerta de la sala de la colección colonial justo después de que Hamish soltara las orugas y luego empujó a Martin Hamish al suicidio para quedar impune. Tuvo lo que se merecía. Buscador de la justicia, hombre, por favor.